Okay, sir. How are
Hi,
you?
great to have you, Stuart, here, and thanks for jumping in to Master Your Life. Let me do a short introduction before we go deeper into our topic today. Those of you who are joining at the moment to this event or you're watching a replay, my name is Kaisa Siipilehto. I'm the Life Mastery Coach and founder of Live Your Joy. I believe our purpose is to enjoy life, and it's often not as easy as we think. So that's why I'm here on a mission to help you live longer, better, and happier, really fulfilling those priorities and purposes that you have here. And that's why I'm bringing you these experts who are really know their stuff in these areas. Like, I will walk you through the steps how you can manage your mind. First of all, know your goals, go after those, be not afraid of transitions, obstacles, and how you can just be your authentic self. And today I have the pleasure to introduce you to Stuart as well. Stuart is the personal development coach and mindset coach, personal development mentor and mindset coach, helping entrepreneurs, leaders, and coaches change the way they think to improve their performance and results, follow their dreams, and transform their lives. As a consultant with Proctor Gallagher Institute, Stuart was personally trained by Bob Proctor and continues to spread the legacy teachings of one of the greatest personal development thinkers of our generation. With their great awareness of how the human mind works, he inspires and empowers people to develop the belief, confidence, and vision to follow their dreams and live fully in the moment. I wanted to interview Stuart because he has a lot of experience guiding people to take action, and now you get to hear what it actually looks like that you take the belief and create your reality. So welcome to the show, Stuart.
Thank you so much, Kaisa. It's really great to be here and to follow Craig as well, because a lot of what he was saying is so powerful. And I hope to be able to complement that and maybe go a little bit deeper on some of those. But can I just share something that's on my mind right now? Because when I was listening to him, something that might be useful for everybody.
Yes, do.
How do you become aware? How do you have that awareness every day? And it's such an important thing. We know the information, we understand a lot of the teachings, but we don't always remember how to remember. And I have a little acronym, a device that was given me by probably my first mentor, gosh, 35 years ago, and I still use it today. A neat little acronym to remember every day, to get yourself present, to get yourself aware and conscious. CYT. CYT, and there's 3 ways of using it. Catch yourself thinking. That's how you get to be aware, to be remembered, to actually impress in your subconscious mind a memory device for it to remind you to pay attention to it. CYT, catch yourself thinking. And then, like Craig was saying, change your thought. If you've got a negative thought, if you're feeling off and you've got those negative thoughts, change it to the positive, like you were saying. So change your thought. And then ultimately, choose your thought, to be consciously choosing your thought as often as you can. It's a little device that I've used, like I said, 35 years. Wow. And it just fitted so well into what Craig was saying. CYT.
Thanks for sharing. And that's so powerful. Like, how do you manage your thoughts? Not to let your thoughts to manage you, but how you can, you have the power to change it, and how you just can capture those, not be just, we have thoughts all the time. The mind is not sleeping. So how to manage
Exactly.
all of
Yeah.
that.
How do you manage your thinking mind? Yeah. We're always thinking, you're right. Subconscious mind is always passing thoughts through our mind. How do we take conscious control of them? Yeah.
So let me ask you first, what does mastering your mind, now I'm still in the mind, what does mastering your life mean to you? Maybe mind as well, but how do you master your life?
Yeah, look, it's all about the mind. It's all about mindset. It all begins in the mind, because it all begins with a thought. or a picture in the mind for those that are more visual. It's really about how we think. To really, like Craig saying, how to be aware of the thoughts that are going through our mind. It all begins with our thinking, because everything gets created twice in this world. It gets created first in our mind, in our imagination, and then we translate that thinking into physical action. So everything gets created twice, once in the imagination, in the mind, and then in the physical world when we're doing something, taking action. But we don't take action, or we don't take good action without first thinking, creating with our imagination. So having conscious awareness and good use of imagination, that's really the beginning of creating anything, of mastering your mind and your life.
Thanks for bringing that up, the concept of imagination. I would like to add creativity into that, because how you can use the imagination in a creative way, like what Greg was sharing with us, like, okay, we might like set us reasonable goals, but how you can actually like, you know, the sky is the limit kind of way of setting, reaching out there, like just expanding yourself. If you would break it down, how would you say that that happens from, like you said, from the mind to putting it into action?
Yeah, so when we're talking about imagination, you're right, it's creative imagination. And you know, I'll probably say it a few times, Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, was a great source of learning for me, and it contains a lot of the real secrets and principles for how to do this. But I always think that there are 4 creative forces that we use in anything. If you think about it enough, this is so true. It's the visual, where you're talking about imagination, visual, mental, emotional, and physical. So we have an idea that comes into our mind from somewhere, whether it's spirit, universe, intuition, whatever you choose, an idea enters our mind that is new, fresh, exciting, something we like. And we start to use our imagination to think about it. So we're picturing it in our mind, the visual faculty. And then we're beginning to think about it, put words to it, label it, maybe even write about it, maybe share it with other people. We're beginning to bring our mental thinking. After that, we're checking to see if we like the idea with our emotion, with our heart. So we're feeling it with our heart, the emotional faculty. And at that point, if we really like it and we believe we can do it, we will be moved into action. We'll be moved to take action. That's where the physical forces come into play. You take action, you do something, and then you get to create it. So we've always got these 4 forces going on. If we're aware of them and thinking about them, it makes it much easier. Visual, mental, emotional, physical. That's how we create anything.
And what if we notice that we don't like what we are creating?
So we should always be watching to see, observing to see what our life's like. And we will, as human beings throughout our life, because we're always growing and learning more and doing more, there will always be moments where we dislike, or we're frustrated, or we're dissatisfied with how it is. And at that point, we just want to become aware of it, observe it, take notice of it, and then think, is this okay for me? Am I willing to live like this? And if the answer is no, if I don't like what I'm creating, then we start to choose to create something else. So we're actually looking into the future. We're using our imagination to think, well, how would I want it to be? So, you know, Bob Proctor, my mentor, has always said this. He's always taught this, that you look at the situation and circumstances of your life, and if you don't like them, you're dissatisfied, you can choose to change them. You have the power to change it, but you have to make that choice, that decision. You have to make it with the belief that you can. And sometimes this is the difficulty, that we have this idea, I'd like to change my life, I'd like to do something more, I'd like to write that book, I'd like to get healthy, I'd like to run a marathon like Craig. Yeah, I'd like that. I love the idea of it. I'm going to do it, and then we don't. See, there's a knowing doing gap, right, between where we are right now and where we want to go. We know where we want to go, but we don't do it. We don't do anything because there's something inside of us stopping us. And that's that limiting self-belief. And we can check to see whether we like the idea and then whether we think we can actually do it. So there's a difference between believing and thinking. People will say, oh, I believe I can do that, but that's not belief, that's thinking. What they're really saying is, I think I could do that. But when we come to try to do it, something stops us. We procrastinate. We feel we're not good enough. We're not ready. We put it off. Why? Because the belief isn't there at the core level, deep inside of us. The belief is missing.
How do you develop that belief?
Yeah, now that's the question, isn't it? How do I do this?
How do I do it? How do I change the limiting beliefs, like what beliefs are not serving what you're here to do?
Yeah, now typically I'd say to people when I get that question is, well, I take 6 months to teach you how to do that, but let's see if we can do this in 6 minutes, because it is possible.
I like that thinking.
Right,
optimistic.
Yeah. What did he say? Delusional optimism. Yeah, believe it.
Yes.
What was it that Napoleon Hill said? Favorite quote of mine that really got my attention years ago. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And the key word is believe. Yeah, whatever we dream up, we can do it, but we've got to believe. So let me take half a step back before I answer the question. I'm going to show you how to do it. And I want you to kind of pay attention, everybody that's listening and watching the replay. How do you know whether you believe you can do it or not? Because people will come from hope. They hope they can do it. They think they can do it, but do they really believe it? So if we use the 4 elements that I mentioned before, you imagine it, you can picture it, you can see yourself in the future doing it, love this, feeling really excited and enthusiastic about it. I talk to people about it and I say, I'm going to do it. You can check with the solar plexus. There's some questions you should ask, but you'll feel it in the solar plexus, that energy center of your body. You'll feel either excited or anxious. You ask yourself a question, do I really want to do this? Why do I want to do this? Am I going to do it? Do you think I can? Am I going to take action? And if you feel expansion and excited, you've probably got the belief that you can do it. If you feel a bit of contraction, a little bit of anxiety, it means your belief isn't strong enough. So what we do then, we go back to the beginning. So let's take the process of how do you build belief. Let me borrow from Napoleon Hill again. Think and Grow Rich is the book. There's a chapter on autosuggestion. Ultimately, everything comes down to autosuggestion, what we tell ourselves. That I'm worthy, like Craig was saying. If you tell yourself you're not worthy or you think you're not, you're never going to do it. You can never go beyond where you believe you can go. So we go back to the beginning. We go back to our imagination. So instead of saying, I'm scared, I can't do it, I'm just not going to take action, I'm going to quit, you go back to the mind and the imagination and you picture it again. You start to really use your imagination. You build the details of the picture that of the thing that you want to have happen, whatever that is. Build a business, write a book, be a professional athlete. Whatever that dream is, you go back and dream it again. You don't give up on your dream. You never quit on the dream. You dream it and you think about it and you affirm it to yourself that I can do this. You start to talk to yourself in the positive, affirmative tense, saying, I am a famous author. I am a successful professional athlete. You start to talk to yourself, autosuggestion, self-talk, and you develop an excitement, an enthusiasm for it. And you've got to keep doing this until you feel in the solar plexus, in the pit of your stomach, until you feel that confidence, that belief, that energy that moves you into action. I feel moved to do this. You know that phrase? Then you know you've built the belief because you will automatically start to take the action that moves you towards the goal. But here's the difficult part of this. You have to keep building this and doing this and using those 4 elements: visual, mental, emotional, and physical. Trying. You don't just not do anything, you try. You've got to keep doing it. Yeah, circling back, doing it over. Repetition. Repetition is the first law of learning. It's the same way we learn to speak a language, ride a bike, drive a car, and someone I was talking to this week learn to swim at international level or Olympic level. I was talking to a swimming teacher who said, I teach my kids to go home and do the swimming stroke on the bed or on the sofa over and over until the subconscious mind understands the mechanism or understands the picture of what you're trying to create. So we pass the picture in our conscious mind into the subconscious mind by practicing, imagining, thinking, affirming, getting really emotionally involved with the goal, because The new belief gets created in the subconscious mind when we instruct it what we want. We got to tell the subconscious where we're going, what we want to do. Because if you've never done it before, the subconscious will actually look around for some programming in the mind and tell you, I don't know how to do that. That's what the fear is. It's like, oh, we can't do that, because the subconscious mind, which controls our behavior, doesn't know how to do it. Never been programmed. So this is programming the subconscious to create a habit, to create the belief, to create the self-worth that actually moves you and motivates you to take the action. Now, that's the quick answer.
No, that was great. I love how you say like how to listen the solar plexus and what it's telling you, because I mean you just feel it if you're just anxious or you feel the pressure, and instead like have that image like and imagine like what you want to do and how you just like, I bet it even like opens up your body. You feel like excited. It's like, okay, I can't wait to wake up in the morning and go after and interview all of you or something like what it is that you want to do, like how to find that excitement. And it's like, to me, it's like looking at kids, you know, how they are just so joyful. They just go after what they want to do. So what happens to us in what sort of in our lives when we start to be so critical towards ourselves and let that fear or thought say that, oh, you can't do it? Well, how would we know if we haven't done it before, if we can actually do it or not? So like you said, just go after it, like repeat the loop, like you said, to check in with that then we have just the power to go do that again, like reimagine, like, okay, this didn't feel exciting or joyful or fulfilling or meaningful, and then you just go back to that. I would like to hear your advice. We touched this very briefly. John was saying that he's worked with a lot of like high-level executives and CEOs, and most of them have imposter syndrome. So if we bring another topic, that imposter syndrome, any fear that you have, how do you work with that? How do you just like work with that and get that positive belief?
Yeah, and I've done the same. I have a client that I've worked with for many years. He's a senior finance executive for a major oil company. At each stage of your life, of your career, you'll be challenged to do something you've not done before. It may look like it's just a natural progression, but at each stage of advancement in your life, and particularly in your career, you're being promoted to a level where the expectations are that you can do something more, that you can do the job, but inside of you, you are programmed to do the job you're doing. You're not programmed to do the next job. We all have what I call paradigms, which Bob Proctor, if you're familiar with, talks about paradigms, did seminars called the paradigm shift. Paradigms are the mental programs in the subconscious mind that run us on automatic after we've learned to do something. When we've learned to do something well, we do it automatically. We know how to do it. When we go to the next level, we don't really know. We've never done quite that. I was talking to somebody recently, another client of mine, she's in sales. What she does in recruitment, she's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. But she went into a different area of sales and she found that she couldn't do it because she had never programmed her mind to do this. And yet, really, it's the same skill, but she had different perceptions. So imposter syndrome is a perception of myself not being good enough to do this. I'm going to get found out, that I've been promoted above my ability to do something. That's not true. What we have to do is we have to recreate our belief in ourself as the person who can do it, who is capable. So really, we've got to go back over again and reinforce the subconscious mind, the belief that I'm capable of doing this. And sometimes it means that we've got to really think hard, take conscious control, and maybe use affirmations to reinforce the belief that I'm capable of doing the next challenge. Say someone who's doing a 10K run goes to do marathon. It's a much further distance. You start to doubt yourself. Am I good enough? And on the outside, we say, well, they're a professional runner, they're an excellent runner. Why shouldn't they do that? It's a longer distance. And we start to listen to what we call the logic of why we can't.
Mm.
And if you think
We're
about
trying to reason.
Exactly, we reason with ourselves why we can't do it instead of thinking why we can. So I always kind of use the Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're always right. And if you think you can't, you won't. So yeah, choose to think that you can and then discover how you do it. And you've got to put a lot of pieces together. You've got to actually use that reasoning factor in your mind to reason why you can do it. You've got to learn what you need to learn, but you've got to believe that you're capable. If you doubt yourself, it doesn't just slow you down, it may stop you, and it may cause you to make mistakes. That then a self-fulfilling prophecy. See, I wasn't good enough. I knew I wasn't good enough. But what caused you to make the mistake that makes you think you're not good enough was your initial belief. So we have to do this again. We've got to choose to believe that we're capable, that our next stage in life is meant to be. We're meant to move up. We're meant to take on another challenge. You see, Bob Proctor would always say, the purpose of a goal isn't to get something. The purpose of the goal is to grow, is to be something more than I was before. And it's the challenge that causes us to be more. So we welcome the challenge, believing that if it's meant to be, we will be able to meet the challenge and overcome it, that we are good enough. But we've got to choose to believe that. So we go back to the core belief, which is, I am good enough to do what I want to do next. And I choose to do this, and I choose to believe I'm good enough.
Yes, I believe we are all here, and our listeners here also want to do great things in their lives, in their careers, businesses, in their families, in their communities. And when we go after those bigger things, like the purpose that is bigger than ourselves, we might often get those fears and doubts, and it's just so how to balance with that, how you can just like build that belief that you can do it, and also the excitement. And I think this is what you said, that it starts from here. When you imagine it first and you build it first, then comes the how. Because I think people are usually, it's just like, oh, I want to do something, but I don't know how, so they give up. But how it's like, okay, you're just not there yet. Let's build first, imagine the vision, the goal, and it's like, okay, it's just one step forward in the journey of making some great things. I also want to ask you, like, what have you changed your mind about the most that has had a great impact in your life?
Yeah, wow, what have I changed my mind about the most? Oh, look, the biggest impact I've created for myself is actually doing what I'm doing now. I was a media manager and a journalist for many years, but I was a student of personal development going back to 1987, so about 35 years. And I always wanted to do what I'm doing now, but I didn't know how. I always wanted to do something like, like Tony Robbins is doing, or Bob Proctor's doing, or Werner Erhard when I was doing. I'm not for anybody who's done that. But I didn't know how, or maybe I didn't believe in myself. So I was doing some of Bob Proctor's coaching programs, and I got laid off from my media job. I thought, well, I'll just get another job. And it wasn't happening. And I realized this was the universe kicking me out of what I'd been doing that was comfortable and safe, and challenging me to follow the dream that I'd said I wanted to do for many, many years. This was the moment. And you would think, well, this is excellent. This is wonderful. This is really what I want to do. But of course, it's a really frightening moment when you transform, when you transition, when you completely go from one thing that you're comfortable and know about to something that's totally different, but you want to do, but you don't have the belief, the self-image inside of you being that person yet. Fortunately, I'm trying to think, it was November. In November, when I got laid off, December, Bob Proctor was creating the consultants program for he was going to train people to teach his legacy. So I was able to say yes to what he was doing and be trained by him to do something that I really wanted to do. So for me, it was a little fortunate in the timing of it, but that's the universe for you. It's always the right timing. So to choose to be the person I really wanted to be instead of the person I'd been trained to be able to choose to step into what I really wanted to become. And we would say to, to our clients that we teach, to step into your greatness, but it feels strange to say that to me about myself, to step into my desire and my vision of myself, and then really use the material, the techniques that I'm talking about tonight, to develop myself to become the person I wanted to be. So I'm having to look into the future as well, borrow from my future self and bring my future self back into the present to convince myself I can become successful at what I wanted to do, because we have those doubts. So I'm going to say that, my biggest challenge was overcoming the doubts and fears and really stepping into the thing that I really wanted to do. And I've been doing that for 10 years. And it's really down to the teachings that I got.
Yes, I know we have entrepreneurs here, and I maybe similar to what you were experiencing, because I feel like when it's really like our thing, it's like the business is our, purpose and mission and our baby, in a sense, like it just feels so big, and then you're just like, okay, how do I do this? Like, and building that belief that I'm meant to do this. I wanted to pursue this path. And like you said, you were maybe fortunate to lose that manager position. Like you said, that it was the universe telling like, okay, you're meant to do this. Now, Stuart, like, to go after that.
Yeah. And it's not easy in that moment. We all have that. Yeah, and I think what Joyce is saying there, total terror, to go from what I know to what I don't know. Yeah. But we're all capable. The human mind works the same for everybody. Everybody's mind works the same way. It's just how we use it that makes us different. We have the power to follow the dream, but we've got to believe that we have it. We've got to believe that it's possible. And that's the starting point, because we won't know how to do it. And we will meet challenges, and our doubts will flood our mind and tell us, you can't do this. You should go get another job. Who are you to do this? But we've all seen it. We know people who've done it. We know people, we all tell the same story. So it's true. So what we're doing now, and what you're doing as well with summits like this, is reinforcing the belief that if you're here, you can do whatever it is you want to do. If you're here, it's because you do have the power, potential, and ability to do what you're dreaming of doing. And you will face fear, doubt, anxiety. We call that the terror barrier, but you can get through, Yeah, the terror barrier. Face the fear, it'll disappear.
Thank you, Stuart, so much for putting your half a year teachings into a very short period of time. And I love, actionable things that people can do. And I want to share this gold card that
I just did that as well. Brilliant. Oh, we did it at the same time.
Okay, perfect. At the same time.
Thank you. I put that in there. Just give me 1 second to explain that.
Yes.
Gold card. This was something created by Bob Proctor based on Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. It's a small card. This is a downloadable, printable one that I put there. You write your goal in the present tense on the card as if you've already achieved it, date it, read it every day, and this programs the mind to support you to achieve the goal. Magic.
Now you can start from there. Having that card, you can always go back to your goal, and then assessing that belief, the excitement, how it feels here. Like, our body is amazing because it tells us so much information. So also listen that, not always just the head that might be playing some games on us, but to how you feel that in your body, what you're here to do. So thank you, Stuart, so much for coming. I recommend our listeners to go back to this and reminding yourself of the 4 things that you can do, and repeat the circles to build that belief again. So thank you, Stuart, for coming.
You are welcome. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much, Kaisa. Thank you, everyone.